I finally got to watch this Kevin interview with Sherelle's World, and so we got to get into it from a therapist perspective. So make sure you do all the do's, you like, you share this video, and help my channel out. Now, I can tell watching this, there's a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, not only from Traci's passing, but also these sisters. And it's good to hear Kevin share his own experience, his own narrative, because like I've said in so many of my videos, there's a narrative of reality versus the narrative. And I think what we have seen this season of the Braxtons has been their narrative versus reality. And Kevin speaks his truth. I loved how she allowed him to talk. Sometimes we see these interviews and there's just like all these questions talking over the guests. But she came on here with respect, allowed this man to have his dignity and say what is his perspective on all these things going on now. Where do I start? I took notes. Now, let's start from the beginning of the relationship. It seems like Traci was pressured to have an abortion. Okay? You going to choose to be in the group or you going to choose to have your baby? And so on paper, she had a contract, but you can tell when people ask you what you going to do after you find out you're pregnant, you announce it, what you going to do? That normally means we're leaving the door open for it to disappear, for that baby to disappear. It wasn't the we're so happy you're pregnant. It was more of a disappointment like, girl, we got so much going on. What you gonna do? Okay. And so he waited outside, waited for them to tell, the team of musicians, A&R people, and they came out and said, what you gonna do, Traci? You gonna have a baby? You gonna be in the group? And Traci chose to have her baby. And I think for a long time, there just has been a lot of just unsaid things and distaste for Kevin, and he can't figure out why. And I take that with a grain of salt because it says his perspective, his narrative, but I'm sure there's been things said about why they don't like him and things that we'll probably never know because Traci is no longer here. But this is a man that she chose to love, she chose to cherish, she chose to be married to, and it sounds like throughout their relationship, the sisters, they did not like him. And I'm not sure why. It could have been that he went against the grain. And you see in this sisterhood, when people go against the grain, they turn on you. And I think that's what we're seeing this new season. Tawana is on one agenda. Tamar is not on that same agenda. So Tamar is now the outcasted one in some ways because Traci is no longer here. And so throughout this interview, a lot of things came out. Okay. And I'm going to go over some of the things that I was like, oh, wow. Okay, and so one of those things was how Kevin Jr. found out about his mom being sick. These things are very hard. And I would think that there would have been a one-on-one conversation in person, but I might have missed it, but it sounded like Kevin Jr. found out on Zoom that his mom was sick. And that's hard. There's not a lot of intimacy, and I'm not faulting him for telling his son that way, but it seemed like everything happened very fast. She couldn't swallow. She was in LA. She came back to Johns Hopkins and found out that she had cancer. And so everything moved quite fast. And so they notified all the family, but it just felt like there was just, I don't know if it was time. I don't know if I listened to it wrong, but there wasn't more of a let's get us three together and talk about what we're going to do, how this is affecting us. Maybe the disease had moved so fast that there wasn't enough time for that, but it just felt a little bit like, that felt a little bit cold. And I can tell as a father, he's trying to, for me as a parent, letting his child have his own mind, make his own decisions. But at the same time, it's hard for him to see his son following behind the sisters. And he admits that he thinks that his child is being manipulated. But like you guys have said in my comments, Kevin Jr. is a 30-year-old man making decisions for himself. But I have said in a lot of my videos, I feel like he is being manipulated and used. But Kevin is trying to figure Kevin Jr. out. He's a young man. And as much as we pour into our children, I find this in my own self. I learned this at a very early age of having my kids, that no matter how much I pour into them, I can tell them the best things. I can show them the right way. At the end of the day, my kids have their own minds. And so I can't really control them as much as I sometimes want to. Sometimes I want to shake that little boy and be like, please, can you just make the right decision? Why are you making these decisions? But he is his own person. And so as a parent, you have to kind of at times let it go, let your kids sometimes fall maybe help them get back up. But at the end of the day, they're humans and you can't control them. I think as children you can, but as they grow and have their own minds, even my kids being so young now, I'm not with my child 24/7. He's at school. Both of them are at school, and they're going to make decisions that I don't agree with, and I have to accept that. And sometimes that is very challenging. And I can see this man trying to support and help his son, but at the end of the day, Kevin is choosing to be along with the sisters. Okay. And he said that out of all the years that he was married to Traci, towards the end, there was probably about 20% support. These are his words. Okay. They really weren't close at the end. I can kind of see that. I think the closer she got to passing, I believe that they were around, but we know that Tamar and Traci were not on the same page. That has come up lots of times in the show, but it's not what they're portraying. And we've seen Traci be treated like crap so many times over and over again. So it's good to hear him say and speak the truth that we kind of see and have seen over a lot of years that Traci was not treated well. And though they came together, as sisters towards the end, was it in closeness? Was it the connection? Or was it more of my sister is passing and I kind of want to make amends and deal with the guilt in myself that I have not always treated her right? And then he goes into the will. He's not contesting it. He feels like the sisters took advantage of her and that when she was doing the will and doing all these emails, that she was under a lot of medication, she wasn't in her right mind. So who knows? Maybe somebody will release those tapes someday of, when she was recording her will, but maybe not. But it says a lot that once she passed, he said within an hour they were calling him about the will and making reservations for what they were going to do with her body and the funeral service. And he says that Traci wanted one thing, the sisters wanted another thing. I can definitely tell that I do feel like the sisters wanted one thing, because once she passed, it based off of his words, it kind of felt like, well, Traci is no longer with us. We ain't got to put her with this man no more. So what we want to do, okay? And it feels kind of selfish and it feels disrespectful that even though you didn't like this man, he was married to your sister. He does have rights. He did love her. And maybe at times they fell out. They were cheating on each other. Different things happened. But the lack of respect for him is quite obvious. Okay? He says that he's only really close to, not close, but he has communication with Tony and Trina. And I can believe that because Trina is a follower. Okay, I think she follows behind Tawanda. She really is a lost sister. So I could see how she does have a relationship with him, but she has to ride with Tawanda because they're afraid of her wrath. Okay, and Tony is Switzerland. She just wants everybody to get along. She don't want the drama. So I could see them being close. Him and Tamar, no, I don't see that ever getting repaired. Tawanda, I don't see that ever getting repaired. The way she treating and running his name through the dirt. She can't even say his name on the show. Okay. And it was said that he was supposed to be a part of this season. There was contracts in place, but the sisters said that they would protest if he was going to be a part of it. Okay. But once again, the show is missing that narrative from him, seeing the son and him together. It's kind of sad to also know that Kevin Jr. seems like he might be using some substances to cope. His father didn't say that he was. But he sees his son hurting, and for his son, the only way to cope, it seems like, is to use alcohol and other things. And he's trying to help his son, but once again, his son is a grown man. He's going to make the decision that he wants to make, and he has to kind of sit back and support him from a distance. But it sounds like there's a lot of interaction, not the narrative that they're estranged. It sounds like they are connected, but there's still this continuance of that, Kevin Sr. is a deadbeat. That once Traci died, he just went off and started living his own life outside being there for his son. So it's sad to see a black man really be dragged through the mud, not have the opportunity to really come on this show, speak his truth, be a part of it when they're talking about his wife, using his wife's image and part of his story to make money. But this is what I got from it so far. Y'all know I'm not going to be this long drawn out video, but it's good to see him kind of speak his truth. At the end of the day, he was her husband. Okay, you gotta respect that he was through with her through thick and thin. They had a child together. He was there when she was sick. He was helping her, but that gets all forgotten because the Braxton name, the Braxton brand is what people are paying attention to. So his narrative, his story at times gets lost. He doesn't have the same platform as the Braxton brand, and it's unfortunate. But I'm glad he spoke his truth. It's really sad to see that even though the show is not even filming right now, Kevin Jr. is still suffering with, to me, depression, substance abuse. He hasn't seen his son in like 5 months. Kevin Jr. is not spending time with his own son. So you see how detrimental all this has been for him. So I really do hope there's healing. I hope things can get better. And I think it's a narrative that a lot of people are going through grief, trying to live a life without their parents. Our parents, losing a parent is like nothing else you can ever imagine. It is really hard, but I hope there is healing. I want these people to heal. I want relationships to thrive. I want generational trauma to break. I want everybody to live their truth. But when it comes to the Braxtons, we're always going to get a narrative versus reality. Now, let me know. What do you guys think of this interview? Like this video, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.